What's up, everyone? Welcome to Cyber Therapy, the show where we get to talk to security and tech professionals, get into that human side, which is what I think most security shows miss. My name's Ashley. I am your host, Senior Marketing Manager at JupiterOne, and this is my co-host.
Howdy,
Tyler?
everybody. Tyler Shields, CMO at JupiterOne. Happy to be here today. Little known fact about what happens prior to one of these shows. But when you guys are watching that amazing intro music, I am dancing. I actually dance before every single show. I don't know if, Ashley, I don't know if you actually noticed that or if you just block it out of your vision.
I can't see anything. So actually,
You,
yeah, no,
you
you're
can
right.
see me in the
I
green room,
can
and
see. You are correct. I definitely
yeah,
just ignore.
yeah, you're just smart enough to pretend like I don't exist, kind of like our day to day together at work.
Yes,
Yeah.
perfectly. It's the perfect representation.
Yeah. So, what's new in Ashley's life? Anything interesting at work, at home? How's Milo the kitty? Is Milo floating around there today?
He is actually outside on the couch, and he's just sunbathing because the sun likes to shine through. We've got a south-facing house, so it's usually he likes to find his spot and then moves when the sun moves. And so he's just being his old kitty self, 13 years old, and on medication because he's got chronic liver inflammation. So he does his pills in the morning, and he's peachy.
It sounds a lot like my life. Welcome to getting old. Old jokes aside, what have we got coming on today? We have a JupiterOne person today, which I'm
Mhm.
very excited to bring on we'll let him introduce himself when he comes on, but he has recently written a absolutely amazing book that I am honored to have had this little tiny part in helping get published, but we can get into the process around some of that when we bring him on. And we have a wonderful, wonderful guest, Helen Patton, who's also a CISO at large and gosh, just a fun person to talk to. So I'm really kind of looking forward to today's show. If there's
All right,
nothing
let's bring
else,
him
you want to
on.
bring him on?
Yes,
Let's
here
do
we
it.
go. Woo! Hello, Helen and
Hey,
Sounil.
hello there. Hey, by the way, you forgot to mention that Helen's also an author too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
no, we're definitely going to get into the hell that is writing books because I actually tried to do it once. I'll get into that later on, how that went for me when we talk about books. But thank you both for joining the show. We love having you guys on here. And the pre-show banter was one of the more fun banters I've had in quite some time. My cheeks actually literally are aching from the laughter that we had on some of the jokes. And it was actually, Sounil, because you came late. It was mostly at your expense. So but that's okay. That's how we roll. Ashley, why don't you kick us off? Where do we go from here?
Yeah. So instead of doing our usual, give us a little bit about your background, the TLDR, wanted to kick it off with a new, fresh question. So what is the funniest memory or experience that you can talk about to date from your security background?
And then we will
Any type.
and then we will follow the question up afterward with a little bit of background
Yes.
about yourselves. Give us the funniest cybersecurity related or career related story you can come up with.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Sunil, you want to go first?
Well, given the awful shirt that Tyler's wearing, and given that we have someone who used to come from the Ohio State, I might as well pick a story from my wonderful school days at Duke University. So there was a point in time when, let's just say that I had a friend, that was checking phone lines across campus to find those that had a certain signal on the other end of it. And somehow the script that this friend of mine ran wasn't quite calibrated right. So it would call all nights, all hours of the night, and wake people up. And anyway, at some point, some people, or a number of people, probably got irritated enough that they called campus police. And campus police went to go find this one place where these calls were emanating from, and they couldn't find it. They went into this dormitory to find this one room, and they were like hunting around. They eventually asked their RA, said, "Hey, where is this room in this building?" And the RA was like, "I don't know. This room does not exist." Well, um, this room happened to be in a whole separate part of the building with a whole separate entrance. And the police came and left, and nothing else was heard of it. Now, how did I find out this thing occurred? Well, at one point, I hired this RA. I'm sorry, not my friend hired this RA to for me to do help desk support and other things. And at one point, I brought him to my friend's office. I'm sorry, this friend of mine went to his office and was like, "Hey, this room sounds like super familiar." And I asked him, like, what happened? Like, how do you know about this room? And he then recounted the story about the police trying to find this particular room. And I was like, huh, that's an interesting story. I wonder who could have done that. Anyway.
What about you, Helen?
Clever,
Give us your funny story.
So I'll give you an Ohio State story because, you know, Duke and OSU, it's a thing. Yeah, so when I was the CISO there, we introduced a phishing training awareness program where we would phish people. The first time we went to phish, pulled too many records. So instead of just pulling all the active employees, we pulled anyone who ever was an active employee, including dead people. And they responded. So yeah, it turned out that people were, so professors emeriti were not being tracked properly by the HR department, and they would die, but the HR department wouldn't tell us that they had died, so their accounts stayed active, and their spouses were using the accounts to get football tickets and things like that.
Oh no!
Yeah,
Oh no!
That's old news, by the way. That is not a current vulnerability at Ohio State. Yeah. So you know, if it was the Sixth Sense, you see dead people, we phish dead people. Right.
That's excellent.
That's super funny. I could come up with a million stories. Many of them sad, many of them funny and sad. But the one that kind of is jumping out at me from my memory is we were doing pen testing in the early 2000s, and one of our guys did a SQL injection vulnerability and dropped the database, nuked the database. Like, you know, not everybody, but
Bobby tables.
but actually nuked the database, erased it. I think they did a file delete or something. Like they escaped the trajectory, the directory and file. I forget what. I think it was a file inclusion that they escaped and didn't execute a command or something. Whatever it was, they nuked the entire data store. Right, just nuked the server, gone. So we couldn't figure out what happened because he was playing with the attack, and all of a sudden the whole server just disappears. So the customer calls us and they're like, "Hey, the server's down. We don't know what's going on. We're going to flip over to the backup." So we flip over to the backup. The guy does it again, nukes the backup, and there was no offline backup. So he actually destroyed a company, not just the data, but the company was done. The company
He was not an intern.
He destroyed the company. There was no more data for them to actively use for their business anymore. So, like I said, combination of funny and sad. Sad in the moment, very funny looking back.
I hope they had good liability insurance.
I don't remember what came of that. I just kept on pen testing my other targets. I pretended like it didn't happen.
All right. Well, I'm fairly new to security.
You're froze, Ashley. Oh, you're back. You're good.
There we go. My bad.
No.
What I was going to say is...
Oh, I froze. Okay.
Either way, I was just going to say I'm relatively new to security, so I don't have a lot of these interesting stories of breaking stuff and immobilizing companies. But maybe one day. I have done a couple of capture the flags, just interesting intro stuff, but nothing of the grandeur that you guys are doing.
If you guys need an intern over there in the security team at JupiterOne, she's really freaking smart. She really is that smart. She could pick up.
I just find it so interesting. Yeah, I just find it. I find security as a whole very interesting. So, with that, I want to transition to Helen. Would love to hear more about just your time at the Ohio State, because I'm sure it's quite different from now that you're on the vendor side. So would love to hear a little bit more of your story there and kind of the journey that you went through.
Yeah.
Hit us with a little bit of background so people know who you are as well.
Sure. So I am based here in beautiful Columbus, Ohio. I've been here about 30 years. I did not come to the United States from Australia for work. I followed a Navy guy because I'm that kind of person. Anyway, I spent 10 years at JP Morgan first, so from 2003 or 4 through to 2013, and then I left there to be the CISO at Ohio State.
Wait, so I was at Bank of America too, but I tell people I started after the crisis, so it wasn't my fault. I think we can actually firmly blame. Anyway, I'm just saying. I wasn't there during the crisis. It wasn't my fault.
Actually, what my career history is that I am responsible for mergers and acquisitions. So I actually joined Bank One 5 days before the merger with JP Morgan. And I had joined my previous company 5 days before they got bought out by another company. And so Cisco is still Cisco, as it turns out, and I've been here a year. But like within 5 days of me joining the company, they reorged where I was sitting in the company. Like, so don't follow me career-wise. You're not going to the company you think you're going to. Anyway, so I was there for about 10 years doing all kinds of security, risky sort of stuff. And I left Wall Street banking for higher education, and it was
Opposite direction.
Planetarily, culturally a different kind of move. So I moved over there in 2013. I thought I'd be securing kids in classrooms, and I was securing all kinds of stuff. Like if you can think it, a university has it, and it's big. So I thought I'd be there for 3 years, like the normal CISO thing, right? You go in, you build a program, you leave, you build a program, you leave. I was there 8, and
wow.
it took a long time, and I really enjoyed it. One of the reasons I was there for as long as I was is because I really actually loved it. And
8 years is like 100 in CISO years.
It's a dog thing. Yeah, for sure.
Matches your beard.
Yeah, it is. But just, to put it in perspective, when I arrived there were 128 individual auditable departments with their own IT shop and their own decisions about IT.
Oh my God.
128.
Wow.
So it was sort of like the central security team was like the managed service provider of all the other colleges and units on campus. It wasn't, just IT or just security. And so when you've got 124 units that you've got to try and cat herd, it takes more than 3 years.
So what about you, Sounil? Give us a little bit of your background.
I was also at financial services, 7 years there, and although I wouldn't say they were dog years, they were actually pretty good years. But again, like I said, that was after the crisis, so things were back on the upswing, if you will. So before JupiterOne, I spent a year. Actually, you can see my progression almost here. So I'm at JupiterOne now as their CISO, and before that, I spent a year in the Israeli wilderness, working for a Israeli venture capital firm that invests in early stage cybersecurity startups. And then before that, I was at Bank of America for several years. It was there that I actually created the cyber defense matrix, which I think we're going to talk about a little later as well.
Yep.
And then before that, I was at a consulting company called Booz Allen Hamilton, same place where Snowden came out. Yeah. But I left, fortunately.
Yeah, so I keep hearing this repeated pattern of, that wasn't me. I left after that. I'm seeing a repeated pattern here.
Yeah.
You think you got protest too much.
Yeah, exactly. So I want to shift gears back to Helen. Can you give me, what were the biggest deltas between financial services and university? Like what were you like, oh my gosh, what used to work here doesn't work there, or what worked really well over here doesn't work over here? Like, what were the big changes that were just kind of jarring or shocking to you when you made that shift?
Yeah, so when you work for Jamie Dimon's company, there is a lot of top-down command control that goes along, right? So when somebody at the top says no one gets administrative privileges to their workstations, for example, within a very short administrative access to their workstations, right? Yeah. You go to higher ed, and faculty in higher ed sort of think of themselves as it's more like a gig economy where they happen just to be using campus stuff to do their own job. So it's a very independent, they certainly have to sort of do their own thing in terms of academic freedom. They have to have their own equipment depending on the kind of research they're doing. So you don't have technology standards. They need access to their own stuff because they're the only ones who can support their own stuff because it's weird gyroscopy, ice core management, whatever thingies they do. That's the technical term, by the way.
That is a technical term. Actually, I do know that technical term.
That technical term, you know, that fluffy thingy. And so at a university, the culture is very bottom up in terms of decision making, and at Wall Street Banks, it's very top down. So I went from doing security, where it was like, it's a rule, you got to do it, it's the rule, to make me. And so it's much more of a psychology game getting security done in higher ed than it is in a different bank. That's all first thing. The second thing is banks are about money. Like, you can sort of guess the mission of a bank, right? It's sort of money, largely. There's some variation in the theme, but it's money. There's a lot of money or a little bit of money.
I'm hearing something being repeated here. It might be money.
In higher ed research, there's different kinds of higher ed, but in research, it's everything, right? So I'm thinking it's about teaching and learning, and it is, but it's also about retail because we sell a lot of stuff, and it's about entertainment because we've got football stadiums and we've got theaters and we've got art galleries and we've got all of those things. And it's about transportation because we've got our own bus system, and and our own airport. And it's about hospitality because we've got our own hotel, and it's about healthcare because we've got 8 hospitals. And so there's like multiple missions.
So in many ways, it's much closer to securing a small city than it is to securing a business. Although obviously there's a business aspect to a university, right? They don't do it not to make money, right? They still have to make money and pay for things and all of that, but it's more about like securing a small city. So would you say a CISO coming out of higher education at a major university like the Ohio State University, coming out of the Ohio State University, would they be better prepared maybe to go secure the city of Los Angeles than they would be to be a financial services CISO?
Yeah, probably. There's a lot of overlap. So, you know, when you run your own city, you've got a lot of infrastructure. You've got things like bus services and water and all the utility things largely. Maybe you've got some school systems that are under you, you know, if you're a city sort of security person. So there's a lot of overlap actually with state and local and higher education than there would be Wall Street Bank. On the other hand, though, universities are regulated by banking regulations, so we're subject to GLBA because of all the student financial aid we have. So we're certainly familiar. If you're a CISO at a university, we know what the financial regulatory environment looks like. So there's actually a fair amount of overlap there too. So the challenge in higher ed is you can't go really deep on anything. You've got to go really wide on a lot of things. And so it depends whether you need to be a specialist or not, where you go after that.
So clearly the idea of the assets that were under your purview ranged a lot when you were at the Ohio State, like crazy, right?
Yes.
I'm curious, Sounil, how do you define an asset? And I know this is like opening Pandora's box to your brain. So.
Well, I can't actually imagine the breadth of assets that Helen had to deal with. It's quite. I don't know how you can even think about how to address the diversity of assets that you had. But the type of assets that I define are pretty simple. We deal with devices, we deal with applications, we deal with networks, we deal with data, and we deal with users. And in some combination of those, and by the way, these are cyber assets, not physical assets. There's a whole bunch of other physical assets, but when it comes to cyber assets, those would be the 5 major categories. And then the cyber defense matrix, just real quickly, does aligns that against the 5 functions of the NIST cybersecurity framework: identify, protect, detect, respond, recover. And so the idea is we have these 5 types of cyber assets, and we want to perform these 5 functions on those assets.
Gotcha. So actually, go ahead, Ash. I know you had a follow-on on that one.
I was just going to ask, so how much does understanding how they interplay with each other, the different assets, the dependencies that they have, how much does that impact your matrix and how does that feed into the framework?
Yeah, so I think going back to the breadth of things that Helen had to deal with, what I would struggle with is just understanding if I'm missing something in the whole
Mhm.
portfolio of things that she has to
Right.
deal with. The cyber defense matrix, as I would frame it, at least helps me understand if I'm missing something, right? So if I'm always conscious of the fact that I have devices and applications and networks and data and users that I have to contend with. It allows me to not miss something, right? Or it gives me the opportunity to ensure that I don't miss something along the way. And also the other perspective is that these all are interconnected to one another. These devices run applications that live on networks, and they house this data, and they're all accessed or administered by users. And so understanding the interconnectedness of these different assets with each other is another aspect of the matrix, and knowing that they connect to one another helps me ensure that I don't miss anything either.
So all this is outlined in your new book,
Mhm.
the Cyber Defense Matrix, which I believe came out a week or two ago. I think a couple of weeks ago now, under JupiterOne Press.
Do you have a
And
copy?
actually, yeah, why don't you show us a physical copy? And normally I'm supposed to be the one that's prepared holding up the physical copy, but I'm from the home studio today. I'm not in the in my office studio. So let's get
All right,
get a screenshot here of what the book
here we go.
looks like.
So
Wow.
Yeah!
And look,
Dun,
it's
dun,
even got a JupiterOne
dun.
sticker right there on the front. I
yes.
love it. Not that the marketing guy mandated that or anything. So, Helen, you also have had the pleasure of writing a book. I tried to write a book once. It was a nightmare.
Yeah!
And there is Cybersecurity Career Path, which I want to hear more about in a second. I tried to write a book. We got like 10 authors together. We all sat down. Nobody actually wrote anything. We wasted time playing video games for like 3 months and nobody ever got anywhere. I want to ask both of you, and please feel free to take it in turn or even one answer, both answer, whatever. What's the hardest thing about writing a book for the two of you? And then Helen, after that, I would like to dig into exactly what your book is about so that we can kind of understand a little bit more about what you did to have to what you had to do to write what you wrote. What's the hardest thing?
The hardest thing for me about writing the book was having the habit of writing. Like there was a lot of things in my head that I wanted to put into the book, and carving out the time and having the discipline to sit down every day and write it was hard. And then I was fortunate enough to bump into Wiley as my publisher, and I had to edit the damn thing like 3 times. I was so sick of it by the time it was published. Like, really love my book, but if I never have to read it again, I'm going to be really, really happy with it. So, yeah, the editing process is a little bit brutal. And if you think you're a good writer, get an editor, because, yeah, you're not.
Yeah, nobody is. So, Neil, what was the hardest part about writing a book for you?
It's so very similar in that regard. And in fact, actually, a funny thing is the journey of writing a book is going to take much longer than you can ever imagine. I actually had a contract with Wiley, but I said I can't go with them because they will take too long. So that, and the too long to me at the time was like 6 to 9 months. 2.5 years later, I finally finished my book. But I think what the nice thing about Wiley and a nice thing about a publisher and the nice thing about Tyler and the team that you put on me is that they actually keep you on track and making sure that you have a draft ready, have the next iteration ready. Yes, look at the third, re-edit this for the third time and get it out the door by this Friday. So that sort of, there's a perspective of you never finish a book, you just run out of time, was definitely the case for me. And having a major conference that the book was supposed to be ready for that got moved to June. The fact that it got moved to June meant to me initially like, oh man, I have 4 more months to finish this. And I'm like, that's just 4 more months of torture, right? So yeah, that's
so what I'm
definitely...
hearing is both of you can thank your publisher for getting it done. and in all honesty, I'm only half joking there. I do want to real quickly publicly acknowledge my team for the help that they did put behind Sounil in whipping him constantly. I mean, at the end of the day,
Melissa.
it takes an author to create, and you can't do it without an author. But I do think it does sometimes take a team of, editors and publishers and layout
Yes.
people and all those things. So I do want to
Drivers.
say thank you to Melissa and the rest of the team at J1 Press that really helped us get that out. Helen,
Yeah.
what was your book? What's your book about? Can you give us the 30,000 foot TLDR? Make me interested.
So this is a book about how to get into, be in, and lead in cybersecurity without losing your mind.
Well, I'm already out because I did all that and lost my mind. So.
I've seen that. Yeah. Nice
What
shirt,
was
by
the
the way.
driver? What was the driver for both of you writing your books? Like,
Well, go ahead, Sounil.
Well, for me, and Helen knows this quite well because I spent time with her explaining the cyber defense matrix and how it could apply in some of the advisory work that she does. But the reality is that I can spend one-on-one time, 1-on-5 time, whatever, with all of these people, and I can never really scale to get to the broad set of people who want to learn more about the cyber defense matrix. I was at a conference last week, and I asked the people there, hey, who's ever heard of the cyber defense matrix? And I was actually shocked. We had roughly about 95% of the people say, I've heard of it. But
wow, that's
most
awesome.
of them, most of them haven't really been able to dive deep into it, though. And so the way that I saw the book was a way to scale my time and just be able to get the information out so that people can put it to use. Oh, and more importantly, even more than that, I am super eager to hear about other people's ideas about how they can use the matrix. So I leave the book with this open invitation to say, hey, whatever you discover, please share it back with me, with the community, because there's so much more we can discover and learn from this. And so I think that was my main motivation for writing the book.
Helen,
what about you, Helen?
Same question.
So similar for me, I wanted to mentor at scale, really. So the way my book is structured is that I'm answering questions that people pulled me aside and asked me about throughout their career and my career, and things that I've blogged about. So it's how do I get into security? Do I need a degree? Do I need a certification? Do I do a boot camp? But it's also, I'm in security now. Should I be a single contributor or a manager? What do I do if I'm a diverse person in cybersecurity? How do I survive? Those kinds of questions. And so I wanted to be able to get the answers to those out at scale. But I also wanted to give people who are asked those questions a resource where they don't have to answer them either, right? So if someone went to Sounil and said, hey, Sounil, how do I get into security? He can say, Helen wrote a book, go read the book, and then we can chat, So, yeah, it was just to get the word out a little bit more broadly, I think.
So question for you, Helen. A lot of those questions that you answered in your book, I'm sure the absolute best of your ability, continue to be questions I see frequently answered, debated, heated, contested on Twitter and LinkedIn. It's like not a month goes by where I don't hear, do I need a certification to be in security? Do I need a higher education degree to be a security leader?
Right.
How do you answer those questions when there really is no right answer? Was there a certain framework that you said, like, look, sometimes there's a certain level of direction that you may need, or a certain level of education that you may need for yourself, sometimes for external. How do you answer those questions?
So I preface the book by saying that there isn't one path, right?
Yeah.
And just like security itself, there's no one right answer to anything. Your risk profile is your risk profile. Your security, your career profile is yours. So what I try and do when I answer the questions is to answer the question from multiple angles and leave the reader with resources they can use to go deeper into the subject if they need it, and maybe some suggestions on how they might proceed to improve whatever the outcome is that they're looking for with that question. One of the things I love about security is that there is no right answer.
That's right.
Often. Someone's going to argue with me about that too, because we argue about everything. But in general, there are multiple opinions and there are multiple ways of dealing with things. And I think that the creativity that's involved in security is really a fascinating part of the profession. So
yeah, I totally hear you, agree with you. When it drives me absolutely insane. I'm sure my team hears me rant on our internal chats occasionally when I hear that question, and everybody chimes in and everybody is adamant that their answer is right. And I read through the whole thing and I go, none of you are right and none of you are wrong. Literally everybody has their own way through that path.
yeah.
I'm actually, just for that answer alone, I'm very excited to check out your book, right? To understand, you probably answer hundreds of questions in that book beyond just that one. But I like the way you approach it with the framework of, look, there's lots of different ways that you can skin this cat. And
Yeah.
let's look at the fundamental framework on the right way to think about it, as opposed to saying, here's the answer.
Right.
Mhm.
Well, it's a mentoring book, right? If you've got a good mentor, their job isn't to give you the answer. Their job is to help you find it, right? So I try to approach the book the same way.
Yeah, Ashley, you got to go find a new mentor because yours sucks.
Yeah, he does.
Go ahead, Ash. Back to the list.
Yeah, no worries. So one of the questions I had was, as you were writing your book and you're going through these mentoring exercises, have you seen a trend where companies who invest in building career paths for security professionals and like really building mentorship within their organizations, does that help with cyber resilience at all? And would love your other thoughts on improving organizational resilience.
So there's two different things going on there. There's one, is there a career path through the company? And two, is there a mentoring opportunity? I'm a big believer in mentoring. I think you get better employee retention if your employees are being mentored internally and being encouraged to get external mentors as well. I think you need the internal and the external viewpoint. So I think that's important. And I see that a lot of places. What I don't see in a lot of places is career pathing for the cybersecurity profession. And some of that's because we can't agree as a profession what a career path should look like. So who's a company to decide what that is? And I think the other is that the profession's still really developing, right? So talk about the number, for example, we talk about the number of women in cybersecurity. Well, what does in cybersecurity mean? Does it mean doing engineering for cybersecurity? Does it mean doing sales? Does it mean doing identity management? Does it mean doing GRC? Like we can't agree on what's in the tent and what's just outside the tent. And until I think that happens, I don't think you're going to see official career pathing within a company yet. At least not one that could transfer to another company, for example.
Right.
So, yeah.
What I actually find interesting is that it's known that it's hard to find women in STEM, right? Women with STEM degrees, not because they're not capable, but because there are institutional things that really make that harder for women. But it's interesting also that in one's general career path, you depend less and less on your STEM background. You depend more on your ability to work with people and to work with, to navigate processes and just have organizational savvy. And that's something that a tech degree doesn't help you with, right? So I think there's plenty of opportunities for women to really fill a growing need to serve in the executive roles, serve in more actually senior roles. We just don't have people who've gone through the ranks, so to speak, to fill those roles, or we feel like, hey, that you haven't done the technical piece, and therefore we seem to feel like we disqualify women candidates from being able to fill those senior roles. But actually, I think some of the women I know who filled those senior roles without having a technical background are some of the best leaders that I've ever seen. So I think it's a shame that we that we have this sort of stigma on a career path that requires a technical background to be able to navigate. Maybe that's one of the things that we need to dispense with, right? The notion that to be in this tent, you have to have started with a technical sort of bent. Well, it turns out many people who advance really don't need to be in that. We don't need to necessarily have them in that part of the tent. Really, they can be the tent can be bigger around what cybersecurity encompasses.
And to your question, Ashley, around being cyber resilient, I think we are in need of more, we're in need of more bodies in cybersecurity, but we're in need of more experience and more diversity in the way we think and act and do in security as well. So one of the things that I think is interesting, I'm going to say something that someone's going to disagree with again. I think
Perfect.
I'm going to generalize too. I think in general, we hire men, and whatever the power group of the day is, we hire them based on what we think their potential is. We tend to judge people of a minority background based on what their experience is. And so we are judging them on different criteria. And so we are less inclined to promote a diverse candidate because they haven't demonstrated that they've done the job yet, whereas we're more inclined to promote a non-diverse candidate because we think they could do the job. And I think we have some opportunity to rethink that in terms of the way we hire and retain and promote. And in doing that, we're going to make our organizations more resilient.
Awesome. That's just like a lot of information going through my head.
Sorry.
No, that's, I mean,
No, that's
this is
great.
Really heavy, really fast. Sorry.
I would say that's so just coming from my own personal experience. I've only been in security since 2016, right? And even then, I've always been on the marketing side of things. So whilst it's up for debate if you consider me a security professional, right? And so, but I will say the thing that actually helped transform how I view cybersecurity in my day-to-day, there was
This
the
guy.
CMO. No, definitely not you.
Oh, my bad. Go ahead. Finish your story. Sorry.
I think it was the CMO of RSA at the time. This was 6 years ago. She gave us a talk at Marketo Summit, which is like a huge like marketing operations kind of summit that a lot of marketers go to. And she gave this talk about how, she basically said, marketers, you're like usually the reason why people get breached. So don't be that person. She didn't say it in so many words, but that was like the message basically that she was saying is be just more vigilant, like talk to your security person, right? Have the conversation, have them look at it, the software that you want to deploy, that sort of stuff, and just be mindful of that relationship, right? And so that was like kind of what kickstarted me into being like, all right, like we should probably pay attention to like who we're giving admin permissions to and like not giving it to everybody. Like I should really revoke Tyler's access to some stuff, right? So like I think there is definitely, I think, an increased perspective or visibility of security outside of the security industry, which I think is also an interesting trend. So
I think if you think about one of the key facets of security, which is security awareness training, or just getting our users to better understand and appreciate security. What is that except a marketing type of task, right? What is that except a PR type of function? It's about communications and doing that effectively. So is the role that you have a security function? You have a core skill that could be applied towards security. And we certainly need a lot of that in many security teams.
Absolutely. So I want to switch gears off of the mentorship topic and off of the career path topic, which quite frankly, I feel like we could do 2 hours on that topic. Like it's so meaty and so valuable. But I want to go back to Cybermatrix and make sure that we cover some of the content in the Cybermatrix book here very quickly. The Cybermatrix, some people have heard of it, some people haven't, and I think this book will help spread the word quite a bit. But how do you see organizations actively using the cyber defense matrix on a day-to-day basis? Is this something that they stick on the wall and they put little tacks that indicate like, I have this one, I have this one, I have this one, I have this one. Like I could actively maybe even see it being used that way. But in your vision, like as a CISO of an organization, certainly if you internalize it and you think of it in those concepts, it makes a whole lot of sense. But what about somebody who's new to the Cybermatrix concept? How do you recommend that they absorb it, use it, and get their teams to kind of think of things in that fundamental framework kind of way on a day-to-day basis?
Sure. And I want to actually give some time to to Helen to answer that question on my behalf, because she actually
Applied it.
applied it. Yes. But anyway, I'm not a very good. I'm not very tidy in my house. I'm not a Marie Kondo, so to speak. But the cyber defense matrix is actually like the Marie Kondo for cyber. It gives you a home to place certain things, and if it doesn't give you joy, you toss it out, right? But the perspective here is that in cybersecurity, we have it's very confusing to newcomers. It's even it's confusing to people who've been here for a long time, because there isn't a systematic organizational system to place things and to put things in relation to other things. And that's fundamentally what the cyber defense matrix is about. It's an organizational system that helps you take very disparate pieces of information, like the vendors that you have, the controls that you have, the measurements that you have, the skill sets that you bring to the table, the money that you spend, all these different things. You need a place to put. I need a place to put them in relation to the different activities that we perform. And the cyber defense matrix fundamentally is that organizational system. It is the Marie Kondo system for cybersecurity. And the book that I put together really is just talking about the use cases for how you organize all these disparate pieces of information. So let me turn it over to Helen, and she have her talk about her journey in using it.
Yeah. So when I joined Cisco, I came into an organization that sells a lot of security products, but I hadn't used all of them in my previous lives. And so I knew I had to learn what the products were and how they fit together and all of those kinds of things. So I used the matrix to try and organize my thoughts around that. So, whether we're talking about Duo or Umbrella or any of the other products that we have, where do they fit in terms of prevent, identify, detect, respond, recover? I got my order out of order. And which asset classes were they really intended to deal with, and in what way? And it was a useful exercise for me. And then for me to sort of hand that back to my leadership and go, here's how I'm thinking about it. Did I get it right? And they were like, we hadn't thought about it that way before. So it became a good internal document as well. I think if I was writing my book again, so part of my book is one of the questions is, how do you create a security strategy? And I think the matrix is one way you can go about doing that, right? If you're new into a security role, you can use it to say, how does my organization do security? Where do we have gaps? Where do we have opportunities to do more? And so on and so forth. So next edition of my book, Sounil, I'll put a reference in there.
There you go. I love it.
Yeah, you can reference chapter 5, I think.
Okay.
I actually have a specific chapter on how to develop.
So real quickly, I want both of you to hold up your books so we can see them on the screen. And Ashley, get a screenshot. Can you get a screenshot? Are you able to do that real quick? I want to get a really good screenshot so that we can use it maybe for our cover.
3, 2. Hold on. Let me do another one. 3, 2, 1. Okay, we're good.
All right, I love it. So, what do you say we get to? So, for those of you that are frequent viewers, and for the viewers out there and the listeners out there, we always finish our weekly shows or every other weekly shows with a fun little game, and the game changes from week to week. So, we've actually personified this game a bit, Ashley. So, it's all about the Matrix, right? And so what we have here is the author of the Matrix, Sounil Yu, in his Neo garb. And so, so we're going to play a little game about the Matrix and test your knowledge about the original 3 Matrix movies.
Yes.
All right. Explain the game, Ash.
All right. So, let me say this. Sounil, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being like a mega going to cons and stuff, loving the Matrix like Tyler does. 1 being like, I watched the movies once. I can raise my hand.
Wait.
Where do you lay on that?
1 is I've watched the movie only once, as opposed to I've never watched it at all.
No,
0
would
would
be
never
like
watched it.
Never watched it.
Okay, I'm pretty sure then I would be more like on a 2 or 3 spectrum.
Okay. So what we're gonna do is Sounil and Helen, you're gonna be one team, because Tyler obviously chose
Sorry,
this
Sounil.
game to
This is my game. I came up with the game,
yes.
so it's totally rigged
And
for
he's
me
trying
to
to
win.
swing it in his favor. So
Mm.
I'm gonna
Now that being said, I have not seen the questions. Ashley
okay.
prepares she prepares the
Yes.
questions.
Wait. So
completely.
is Helen by herself then?
No, it's
No,
you
no.
two against me. It's 2-on-1. Let's go.
Oh. Okay. Helen and me
and
against
I'm answering
Tyler.
questions. Yes.
All right. We'll take you on. Hold on. Let me
Okay.
pull up Google.
Nah, no googling. You're on video. I can tell.
All right, let's start with this question. And this question
who's
is
it
for
for?
Helen and Sounil. This is
Oh.
for Helen and Sounil.
Can I get a steal? Do I get to steal?
No.
Are we
you don't
allowed
get
to
steal.
confer?
Yes, Sounil and Helen,
Okay.
you can talk.
All right.
Okay. What is the training program that everyone misses the first time?
Oh, the jumping off the building one.
Yeah, the jumping program. Good
She's
job.
right. It's called the jump.
Woohoo!
All right. I would have.
All right,
Nobody ever makes it the first time.
Never.
I'm going to keep score. So
I just want you to
One
know
for-
that the Matrix movies, the first two at least, were filmed in North Sydney. I used to work there.
Wow,
There
very
you go.
nice. All right, so most of these questions are actually going to be from the first movie, with some questions coming from the second and third movie. So just a heads up. All right, Tyler, this question is for you.
Well, I hope it's scaled up for Tyler because
Yeah, don't worry.
that'd be hard.
Don't you
softball.
worry. I got you. Just prior to meeting with the Oracle, we see Morpheus's crew eating in the mess hall of the Nebuchadnezzar. According to the dozer, the food they consume is a single-celled protein combined with synthetic aminos, vitamins, and minerals. According to Mouse, this food reminds him of which breakfast treat?
Hold on. I can see the scene, and I can see Mouse saying it because he's actually holding a spoon like this, going, and it's like a gross way of eating.
Yeah.
Oatmeal porridge?
Do you want me to give you options?
No, it's not fair.
Then
Did I
you're
get it wrong?
incorrect. Yes.
Oh, are you? They get a steal. They can steal it.
Oh, Helen.
Helen, do you know?
I would have said
I mean, I
oatmeal.
saw you doing this, so.
I know. I would have said oatmeal, but I really
But then he says,
it was a breakfast treat.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and then I do know that he says, but what if you didn't even know what it really tasted like? What if oatmeal really tasted like he goes into that whole line
I
of
know.
thinking in the scene.
All right, I'll give you options.
Okay.
Cream of wheat, tasty wheat, Wheaties.
I know now.
Wait. Oh, those three? Those are the three?
There were four.
Four.
Oh.
Wheat germ was the last one.
Cream of wheat, I
Cream of
guess.
wheat.
Then.
Yeah.
No.
No, it's
Tasty
tasty wheat.
Tasty wheat. Shit.
Yeah, as soon as she said it, I knew it. All right, so it's 1-0 you guys. 1-0 you guys. You're up. You're on deck. Next question to the Helen Sounil team.
Okay, let me see. Who is the person who says, "I know Kung Fu"?
Neo.
Yeah!
Absolutely. Sounil,
Sorry,
you're
Sounil.
not very good at this game, Sounil.
Did I tell you I was like on the 1 or 2 scale?
It's okay. When I was looking up these questions, I'm also on that end of the scale. So I was like, I don't know any of these.
I know Kung Fu.
All right. Tyler, here's a question for you.
Yes, Helen, I love it. She's got it. She is a pro. That's why I'm going to lose. Go ahead.
On what level do Neo and Trinity stop the elevator after the lobby shootout?
Oh, gosh, you're really giving me the hard ones.
Yes.
What level?
What
This is like-
floor?
This is like asking
That's
Captain
really.
Kirk, what's the combination on that lock?
That's really obscure.
All right, I think I'm going to ask for multiple choice here. I think I know it, but I want to hear the multiple choice.
20.
Okay.
20.
Multiple choice. 23, 41,
No.
72, 98.
Well, I definitely didn't know it because I was going to say 37. So I'm going to say 41. I'm going to say 41.
Wow, good job.
Right.
Yeah.
I knew it was in that range in the upper 30s. So I just didn't
Yeah.
know the exact number.
It flashes level 1. Have a nice day.
Oh, look at that. There you go. All right, it's 1-1.
Good job.
No, no,
1 to 2,
it's
actually.
2 to 1.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah.
Oh, 2
No,
to 1.
you get
They got
one.
this.
Yeah.
They got the steal, so it's 2-1. Yep.
Yep. All right. All right, for Helen and Sounil. Neo's shocking extraction from the Matrix is the early climax of the film, but it also marks a new beginning. Before any explanations can be provided, however, Neo requires physical therapy to restore his atrophied muscles to health. During his therapy, Morpheus makes reference to which body part or parts that Neo has never used before.
What?
Eyes.
Yeah, good job.
Really good.
Man,
Holy
how many
smokes.
times have you watched this movie?
I
Lots of
will
times.
say that I think the cyber matrix expert is not Sounil. I'm just saying.
Most
Gotta
certainly
Photoshop that
not.
one.
Wow, Helen, that was really good. Really
I
good.
will say though that when I presented the cyber defense matrix at RSA, the second one, it was titled Reloaded.
Ah, there you go.
And I had a video clip, which I'll see if I can find, but it's a really funny one. I'll just give you the visual imagery. I think you can probably figure it out. So it's a scene where Neo stops all those bullets, right?
Yep.
So you have these guys who shoot bullets. I changed all those bullets into vendor names.
Oh my
So
gosh.
you have all these vendors shooting at Neo, and you have Neo basically saying, "Hold on," and then they all drop, and then
That's
the
pretty
Matrix
impressive.
comes
You
back.
gotta find that imagery so we can put it on the cyber therapy Twitter feed.
I will go find that. Yes.
I love it. All right, next question, Ash. My turn. I don't want to be left too far behind here. I'm down 3-1.
Yes. All right. Let me go here. Okay. This question. When Morpheus explains that Neo will have to fight the agents, he also tries to tell Neo that when he's ready, he won't have to what?
Dodge bullets.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very
when you're ready,
good.
you won't have to. Does that mean I can stop bullets? Dodge bullets? When you're ready, you won't have to.
Very nice. I
There you go.
can't believe that you know those lines word for word.
I told you I can quote
Actually, I
the whole
can
first
believe
movie.
it. Yes, you're right. Okay.
All right, so Helen, you get the next one because Sounil does not contribute to this game.
Yeah.
Give me an easy one.
All right, Sounil, you got to answer first on the next one. Helen can overrule you, but you
Oh,
have to
okay.
answer first.
All right, fine.
Okay. When Neo is ambulatory, Morpheus leads him on a small tour of his ship, a hovercraft that he uses to make his way around the real world. Morpheus' ship is named for Nebuchadnezzar, a king of which ancient empire?
Oh, that's easy. Babylon.
Yeah!
That's not even a Matrix thing.
No.
Well, it is,
Close
but it
enough.
isn't. But at least you
think
got a
that
point.
is
You
your own
contributed
testament,
to your
yeah.
team.
Or
All right, where are we
Talmud.
at? What's the score?
The score is 4.
4-2.
Helen and Sunil have 4, and then you have 2.
All right, what are we going to play to? 5, 6?
We'll play to 6. That's fine.
Okay,
We can
6
do that.
sounds fair. I got to
Okay.
get a steal in here.
Yes. All right. Hold on. Nice.
I wouldn't have got the Babylon one, by the way, Sounil. So good job.
Woohoo. Nice. Team.
Okay. Tyler, I'm gonna be like super impressed if you know this.
Okay.
In the opening sequence, what is the telephone name telephone number that is traced?
Oh, wow.
This is definitely like that SNL skit. You know
You can't
what
hear,
I'm referring to?
you don't get to see it. You don't get to see it. You got to, I would have to
No.
have decoded the
The number's
audio.
there. The number's definitely there. It
Oh,
resolves at
it's
the very
555. It's a 555 number, right? Am I right that far? It's a 555 number?
Sure.
Okay.
There is a 555 in there.
There's a 3 in it, a 2 in it, in the last 4 digits. Am I right?
No.
Damn. Then I
But
don't
you
have it.
are correct that there's a 3 and a 2.
Yeah, I don't remember it.
Okay. It is 312-555-0690.
Yeah, I didn't have that at all. Not even remotely close. That would have been impressive. You're just giving me the super hard ones because you want to see me lose.
Yes. You're the one who chose this, so you know it would swing in your favor. So I got to even the odds somehow.
All right.
Okay. Actually, no, it's going to be too easy. I'm going to change this to here. Okay.
I'm gonna bring in a new producer, one that's nicer to me.
Never mind. I will not say what I was gonna say.
All right, that's the next
Okay.
question.
The Matrix. We're willing to wipe the slate clean, give you a fresh start. All that we're asking in return is your cooperation in bringing unknown terrorists to justice. Who tried to make this deal?
Oh,
Wait.
the short little guy who's, I can't remember his name.
You mean, well, you're not talking about Agent Smith, right?
No. He was one of the crew members. And, quick, Google it.
Wait, so the terrorist is Morpheus, right?
Yeah, don't say anything, Ashley. Don't guide them.
Okay, so that scene is
No, but the
I thought the scene is when he's being interrogated, and
no,
hey, stop.
he has a steak dinner, and he's like, "I'm not really. I know I'm not."
Oh,
Helen's
Cypher.
on it.
Cypher, then you're talking about Cypher.
Is that your
The
final
bad
answer?
guy. Oh, okay. Repeat the question.
Yeah, Cypher.
We're willing to wipe the slate clean, give you a fresh start. All that we're asking in return is your
yes, that's Cypher.
cooperation.
Yes.
So the answer that I have here is Agent Smith.
Oh, you're asking.
Oh, you know what scene they're talking about? They're talking about.
I do not.
So there's two scenes.
I have both answers.
Yes.
So I said it's
So you
Agent
should get
Smith
2 points.
talking to Cypher. Yes, that's right.
I feel like I'm railroaded here. I feel like I'm being railroaded.
I mean, that basically gets them to 6 points, sir.
Give me a super one, and if I get it right,
it's double Jeopardy round.
Okay, I'll
Bet
do
it
it.
all.
Are you there,
That's right.
Tyler?
One shot.
Okay, cool. You froze.
Yeah,
for a
I'm here.
moment.
Give me one shot, super hard one. If I get it right, we tie.
Okay.
Because I'm not going to get it. But
perhaps to Neo's surprise, the Oracle appears simply as a kindly old lady. Kindly though she may be, she has wisdom to impart and does so for Neo's benefit. At one point, she prompts Neo to look at a wooden plaque positioned above her kitchen doorframe. What phrase appears on this plaque?
Oh.
And I want the Latin phrase, not the English translation.
Oh, I don't have the. I can see it, and that's the scene in which she says, "It's going to really bake your noodle. If I didn't tell you, would you have knocked over the vase?" That's the scene, and I can see the door frame, and I can see the wooden plaque, but I cannot tell you the letters that are on it. I concede. I'm the loser. I got beat at my own game. What does it say?
Temet nosce. I don't know how to say it.
What's it mean?
It's TEMETNOSCE, and it means know thyself.
Know thyself. Yeah, I was going to say something about, e pluribus unum, but I knew that was wrong. So, all right. You guys, thanks for kicking my tail in that game. I enjoyed that. Thanks, Sounil, for letting us put up that very funny picture of you. For those of you that are listening to the audio only, rewind a little bit. Take a look at that picture. It's fantastic. Sounil loves it when I show that. You guys were awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I hope you had a good time. I hope we taught a little bit. Please go buy those books, find those books. Sounil's book is available on JupiterOne.com, and you can order it on Amazon.com. I presume Helen Patton, Patton. If I do that into Amazon, I'll get your book.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Navigating the
Fantastic.
cybersecurity path.
All right, guys, please go buy those books, find those books. I think there's a lot to learn from them, and the authors are fantastic people to boot. So thank you guys for coming on the show. I really appreciate having you here. And Ashley, get him the hell off my show.
Bye.
All right, that was super fun. Thanks for challenging me with the impossible questions. Like, I don't even think that was remotely fair.
It was totally fair. You're the one who called this shot, and you bragged about how much you knew and knew the first movie line by line.
I am Matrix brilliant. No, that was super fun. We're gonna have to do some fun stuff later.
Yes.
Yeah. So to all our viewers out there, thank you for sticking through another week. We want some feedback. Please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notify button. Go to check out Cyber Therapy TV on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on
follow
YouTube,
JupiterOne on LinkedIn.
And follow JupiterOne on LinkedIn. I think it's JupiterOne TV on YouTube. So go find us on any
Twitch.
of those places.
Yes.
Yeah, on Twitch. Okay. Go find us. We're not that hard to find. All right, guys.
Our
Thank
next
you so
episode's
much.
going to be, just FYI, our next episode's going to be March 1st. So we're
Oh,
going to
and
be
who
the
is our
first.
guest? Do we know who the guest is?
Jason Chan.
Okay,
Previous
this is going to be a
security
big one.
admin.
We're going to be tweeting the hell out of this one coming into it. Jason is a very old friend of mine. He is one hell of a great person, and I'm really going to love interviewing him. So I highly recommend you come on March 1st and check us out live. Have some questions ready. Hit us in the chat.